Hello everyone, this is Shadow Dragon back with another episode of DC Universe Online. So in this video I'm doing a follow-up to another one where I made predictions about how episode 41 would affect the game. That was about a little bit over a month ago, so we're just going to go over those bullet points and see if any of that stuff came true and how things were adjusted. So if you want to reference that video, you can click on the info icon to the upper right or wherever that appears on mobile. Alright, so the first thing I covered before was the on-duty versus omnibus menu. That has not changed, unfortunately. I don't know how people are taking that. Are they used to the new menu? I still dislike the new menu defaulting to the omnibus. I would still rather have the old menu come up first, because I do find myself going to that more often than actually using the new one. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're taking analytics on that, but you know, when, let's say for example you're going to the Elite Solo, it's a lot less clicks if you click back to the old menu and then just select the item from event. Whereas if you go to Omnibus, you're selecting like the episode, then you have to click on your role. And it also loads more slowly, because if you notice when you pull up the on-duty menu, there's a bit of a pause before that stuff actually appears. If you have like long enough lag, you can actually scroll down to the custom button before the other three things even load, and save yourself like another about a second or so. So yeah, performance is an issue, especially on console, because console with the menus is always slower than an average PC. Probably the Switch platform has got to be the slowest, because anytime you pull up a menu and then you close the menu, it's like the game freezes for a few seconds. So yeah, performance is an issue loading the omnibus menu. So that, you know, that's another reason to default to the other one first, because the other one loads faster. Alright, so yeah, that's the first thing. Unfortunately, no changes there. The other thing I brought up is how is the clamping going to affect things? My concern was mainly for the new player coming up. Because if you're a veteran, you have experience, and you're pretty much going to be okay with it. Now, when clamping went live, it didn't feel as bad as it was on test. I don't know if that's because they scaled it down, or simply because our test characters are not exactly the same as live. But when it went up, it definitely didn't feel as hard, because I went in there with, you know, the same character, similar level, but obviously everything correctly built. And things were okay for an upscaled character as well as a downscaled character, so I didn't have any issue with it. And on a case-by-case basis, the devs did make adjustments to certain instances that were a bit hard or did not scale properly. So for the most part, things are okay. The only thing you're not going to be able to do is obviously go into like old larger content and blow through it. A lot of it is not soloable anymore. Like I'm talking mostly about the alerts and raids, obviously, or the ones that are soloable are no longer efficiently soloable. So you'll be like wasting a lot of time in there. The trade-off, of course, is that we're getting marks for everything now. So to me, that's kind of an even trade. I like getting the extra marks, and we should be working for those. I mean, if we get paid, we should be working for it. Can't have your cake and eat it. So yeah, for the most part, I'm okay with that, and I think the game is secured for new players, which is the most important thing about the scaling. The next important thing was the currencies or income streams that we were getting from the newer episodes. What they did was they initially took that away, so that if you were playing like Wonderverse, Legion, or Flashpoint, you no longer got source marks from that, and so pretty much you had to play those to get the current gear and stuff. And then you also were required to play old content to work on the Sourcemarks stream, which would go towards styles, your allies, and your catalysts. So you were kind of like doing double the work, double the required work, at least for a while. And that sort of adjusted like which content I ended up hitting. Like when that initially went up, because we weren't getting the dual currency, I actually dropped Wonderverse and Legion, and I went for the faster open worlds to replace those. Because you would get the marks from the older ones, but not the new ones. And if you're at the top episode, House of Legends / Flashpoint, you probably already built up the two that were before that, so it didn't make sense to grab those currencies without getting source marks. So yeah, basically I did like House of Legends, Flashpoint, and then I went back to like Birds of Prey, because that had a really quick open world. And that replaced Wonderverse, because Wonderverse was a slow one and was no longer efficient if you didn't get the source marks alongside with the splintered coins. So yeah, I did make like I argued that a lot through like private messages and stuff with devs, and obviously my videos. So that actually got changed. They restored that. So I reverted back to the chronological order of, or reverse chronological order of things that an endgame player was going for, which kind of makes more sense, because typically they want the traffic in the newer episodes. Without having that dual stream, it definitely wasn't leading us that way. It was leading us to the most recent, and then just whatever was faster. So now it's pretty much back where it was before. You just play the recent ones to get the dual stream, and then you can optionally go back to get extra, which I think should like lead the traffic to ideally where they want it to be. So yeah, that one that's pretty good news. They were able to get to that within a few weeks. So the next issue up is the instance traffic. The concern here is like with everything being relevant, and there are no real adjustments based on the length of the instances. What that's actually doing now, and they haven't corrected this yet, but there was a note that they're working on something that's going to evaluate this. But the issue is like all raids are going to return the same source marks. All solos return roughly the same source marks, and duos and alerts. So the problem is you have some really long ones. There are short raids and there are super long raids. So why would you ever play the long ones? Same case with all the other sizes of content. And then you also have to factor in other bonuses, because anytime there's a loot picker, you have a chance to get an extra mark. So you do have cases where you can run a solo in 5 minutes and actually get 4 marks. And Now, on the flip side, you may run an alert that's 30 minutes and get 5 marks out of it. So the factor that wasn't considered when this first went up was time, time of the instance. So they did mention that in an update that they were going to be evaluating that. So that is not up yet, and we have yet to hear back on what they're exactly going to do. So yeah, this one should be interesting because, I mean, you pretty much have to go through each instance manually and evaluate it. So it's going to be a lot of work, and I don't think that's not like a one-step thing where you apply a formula and it just gets applied to everything. I think they actually have to manually modify and adjust each instance. Like I mentioned, the loot pickers that could give bonus, that's not the only thing though, because some of them had member boxes, which of course are no longer member boxes. But anytime there's an additional box that drops, that also has a chance to give you a mark. So when you compare all the instances, they are not equal. As an example, if you look at the Origin Crisis solos, those are 5-minute runs, and each of them has 3 bosses. So you do have the fixed mark, the fixed source mark that you get from just beating it, and then each boss actually has a chance to drop a bonus, and it does come up pretty often. Like I have gone through those and come out with 4 marks, and if you factor in marks over time, those are really efficient. I mean, 4 marks in 5 minutes. You have other ones like let's see, Deluge, and I think a lot of the ones after that, where after you beat the final, you get like a special box, which used to be members only, but now everyone gets it. But when you open that box, it also has another chance to get a mark. So some of the newer instances have that advantage over the older ones. Yeah, so the way it is now, if you're trying to farm marks, one, you don't want to hit a long instance, and you also want to factor in whether or not you get that extra box, as well as the number of bosses / loot pickers. So yeah, that covers instance traffic. If you look at LFG, like, you'll notice it. You'll see a lot of callouts for FOSS 3. Fortress of Solitude 3, Sunstone Matrix, because it's the shortest raid. It's just it's the arena style, and it's the oldest arena style raid, so it happens really quickly. You could do that, I think, within 4 or 5 minutes probably. There is some dialogue in there, so that does take a lot of time, but I don't think you could finish another raid as fast as that one. And with locks open, that would be the only one you spam, because without things being locked, you don't have to reset it. So if that one, say, takes 4 minutes, why the heck would you run another one that even takes 7 minutes? You should just keep spamming the same one. So that's going to be the case until they adjust for time. Now, I also covered the membership changes in my previous video, and that was pretty much addressed when they laid out like what they were giving us. It is a whole lot of like fluff, but the main things that matter are the new currencies that they give you, because you can use those to get the rewards that we used to have to roll on, that were a slave to random number generator. So it is a bit more easier to get those daily rewards, and the membership still does have a lot of value, in my opinion. So over the past month and a half or so, I haven't really noticed a shift in league mates changing their member status. Like if they were members, they're pretty much still members. I don't think that was affected. Um, so that says that it's still at least equivalent to before, and there's enough value in there to cancel out what they gave premium in the unlimited escrow. Okay, so yeah, membership is pretty much a non-factor. Alright, so I also questioned whether or not the game is still alt-friendly. There are some things that kind of work against it, I guess, as an early reaction. But I think if you're good at managing your alts, I believe it is still alt-friendly. The things that kind of might work against it is, like, with everything opened up, you might initially feel overwhelmed. So like you log onto your main and then everything's opened up, so you're just playing your main through everything. But keep in mind that it doesn't actually matter which character you're earning the source marks on. If if the end goal is to put that towards like quarks, catalysts, your allies, and styles, all that stuff's account bound. And ally favor and quarks are obviously pooled currency to the account. So it actually doesn't matter which character you're playing. You just have to split it up evenly. So it's just going to take discipline and management on your part. And of course you're going to want to like manage which alts get allocated to your free time. So just play the ones that you have the most fun with, and you can just move the stuff around, move the rewards around. You're going to want to split up the ally favor, manage that. Because like when you first see that, it gives you the impression that you're building one toon at a time, which I mean you actually are, but like the management part comes in. Like if you could hold back spending, you just build up the currency and then you could split it up from there. But yeah, I would say that it's probably more alt friendly than before, because like when you look at the nth metal drops you get, all of the new stacks are just account bound. On the old system with like the vault and then the drops that you got from the stabilizer event, those were locked to the character you were playing. So you were forced to build the artifacts of the characters that got those drops. So what that was doing was that was the system spreading out the drops for you. That was the system managing it for you. Now you're going to have everything pooled and you could just dump it all into the shared bank, but it would be up to you to manage which character gets those nth metal drops. So yeah, it should be more flexible with that, as long as you take it that way. But that option is there now, whereas it wasn't before. Before it was like a forced split. So yeah, I think that's all I covered in the previous video. So they are working on a lot of our feedback. As you can see, they addressed the dual income stream in the recent episodes. I felt like that was the most urgent issue to take care of. Simply because it was taking away effort that we had before. So I thought it was kind of cheap to take away something that we were being awarded before and making us do extra work to get that stuff. So they did address that pretty quickly. I think that was within like two weeks of launch. So yeah, the next thing we will be looking forward to is how they evaluate instance time. I mean, right now it actually favors us because you just keep spamming the same one. But that that's not healthy for variety, and I don't think that's healthy for the game. So we'll see what they come up with when they factor in time. So yeah, that's it for now. Stay tuned for more updates, and thanks for watching.